Hello. So it's time to get started with PAC. You wonder what's PAC? That's Predictive Analysis Competition. Many of you have been curious about this and you've emailed me before, you've asked me before in class about this. Now I'm going to spill the beans. I'm going to tell you more about PAC. So PAC is unlike any assignment you've done in this course, and probably unlike any other assignment you've done in any other course either. So here's a little bit about PAC. PAC is a competition where you get to apply everything you've learned to a real problem. You're going to be judged only based on your predictions. So you can compete here, generate a predictive model, and the one that's going to be judged the best is the one with the best predictions. You're going to be working on this for about a week. At the end of the week-long competition, whoever has the highest score is the one that wins. Now, unlike an exam where you get one crack at it, or an assignment, you get a few cracks at it, here you can keep submitting. Every submission is scored, and whenever you submit, you get feedback right away. Your prediction performance will be revealed to you via what is called the leaderboard. More about that in just a second. You have a cap, however, well, there's got to be some limits in place. So we have 3 predictions per day as your cap. And the competition as such is completely transparent. Unlike one of those competitions where you work on something for a month and you submit and you hope the judges rule in your favor, here, every time you submit a prediction, you will know your score right away. It's going to look like this. Here's a leaderboard. So in this example leaderboard, somebody makes a submission and their score shows up in leaderboard right away. Okay? So they can track their performance and that of their teammates and other classmates. And they can also monitor their own performance over time to see how they're making out over time, if they're doing better or not. So we're going to host this competition on Kaggle. Kaggle is an online platform for running data science competitions. I believe now it's owned by Google. There are like 1 million registered users, 60,000 active users who compete in Kaggle all the time. They compete for sport and bragging rights. They compete to get a job with the competition sponsor. And they sometimes compete because they want to showcase their skills to recruiters. And oftentimes there's even prize money. In fact, the claim to fame for Kaggle is the famous Netflix $1 million prize that was announced about 10, 12 years ago that drew hundreds of thousands of people to Kaggle. And the excitement around Kaggle hasn't abated, and people still throng on this platform, flock at this platform to compete in various competitions. Question is, why would you engage in this competition? Well, for one thing, if you do well in the competition, the results will be visible transparently to everybody else. You'll be able to see how you did and how your teammates, how classmates did. Okay? And they'll be able to view your performance also. So if you do well, you earn something that money can't buy, bragging rights. You're also going to gain valuable hands-on experience with building models. As you iterate through, try various things, you learn things that, a guided learning process, whether it's a classroom, a book, a video, couldn't possibly teach you. When you try to solve problems you encounter by looking for solutions and doing this iteratively and repeatedly, you learn invaluable experience that I can't think of any other source that can teach you that better. Your performance on Kaggle in PAC will be visible to folks even after the class is over. So you could showcase your skills to recruiters using this process. And of course, you're doing it for a grade, and so there are points to be earned out here by performing this, by engaging in this competition. Okay, so I've drummed up excitement, hopefully a little bit of that about the competition, so let me tell you more about it then. So in this competition, you're given a data set of about 20,000 popular songs, and you've got information about the auditory features and a few other features of these songs. An auditory feature could be the loudness. Does it have any explicit language in it? how the tempo of the song, there's a couple of other such interesting, uh, auditory features like acousticness and so on of the feature in the music. More about that in just a bit. Your goal is to identify, what makes a song become popular. So basically, you'll construct a predictive model that will effectively predict the rating of a song based on the features of the song given to you. In addition to auditory features, you also have access to a few other features like how long the song is, or the genre of the song, so on, the actual song name, and so on. How good your prediction will be judged based on a familiar metric called root mean squared error. Now, before I even move on, let me mention this here. The data that you've been provided is solely for the purpose of this course. I don't expect you to use this or beyond this course. It is just for this class, and I don't recommend using it for commercial purposes at all. In fact, that'd be a violation of sort of like the terms here. But this is not to be used for commercial purposes. And lastly, I can't have you. Yeah. So that's pretty much. And so some of the variables like the popularity rating, it's based on an index that I have created. So I want to kind of put that out there. That's what you'll be predicting. The rating is per se is based on of every song is based on an amalgamation of a couple of variables like what is popularity rating in Spotify, how well it performed in the Billboard Top 100 list, and so on. Here's more about the variables if you'd like to take a look. So here is the variable list. We have in our data set the following variables: song ID, performance name, song name, genre, track duration, explicit terms or not, danceability, energy, key, loudness, mode, speechiness, acousticness, instrumentalness, and so on. And lastly, you have the rating. The rating is what you're going to predict. This is a variable derived from Billboard Top 100 and popularity in Spotify. And again, I don't want you to be using this outside of the context of this class exercise. Okay. So what you'll be doing at the end of this competition, your deliverables, are the following. You're going to be submitting your predictions on the competition site hosted on Kaggle, and you will submit a report and supporting R code for your best model and some models along the way. That's not going to be a presentation, ignore that bullet point. Your grading for this class will be based on your commitment to the project. So I want to make sure you work consistently on this project for this week-long period. You've got to get your first submission in by July 1st and have at least a total of 5 submissions by the end of the week-long competition. The quality of modeling will be rewarded, and I'll judge that based on the diversity of techniques used, how effectively the amount of data exploration done, level of data wrangling performed, and lastly, how well the results have been communicated. The lion's share of your points are based on how accurate your predictions are, and that's based on where you stack up on the leaderboard for this particular project. Okay, let me talk about how you're going to get started. Now, this is critical. A lot of folks just get deer in headlights when they face the competition, not knowing how to get started. And so I want to kind of again walk you through this process. First things first, to get started, you've got to register for the Kaggle competition. Here's a link for this thing. So if you click on this link, I'm going to open this in different browsers. So you could click on this directly, and that will then bounce you out to a browser where you will get to register for the competition. So I'm going to show you now where you can find that competition. All right, so as I was saying, to register for the Kaggle competition, you click on this link. That will take you to a online survey. Now, it's critical that you follow the steps out here to get started. So if I were signing up for this, I'd make sure I use my own name and your paste email address. Don't use a personal email address to sign up. And then again, this is not limited to just this particular course. There are other courses that I'm opening this up to if other professors want to offer this to their students. So you'll basically mention my name here. And it's predictive analytics. Again, go through the process here and mention, just for my sake and for the other benefit of other professors, the time when the course meets. So Tuesday, Thursday, 9 a.m. to 12. And that's going to take you to the next page. Now, this is, oh, wait a sec. No contribution. And so this will take you to an important page where you will actually register for the Kaggle competition. Now, it is important you don't close this window until the process has concluded. So first things first, you'll visit kaggle.com and register for an account. So if you already have a Kaggle account, well and good. If you don't have one, you're not familiar with Kaggle is, then you obviously don't have an account. You'll want to go in here and you'll want to go in and sign up for an account. So let me sign out here. So you go and hit register button, and then you go in and basically plug in your account. So register with email or something. And I believe there's like there's like email verification they do. So you'll have to go do that part where they send you a link, and then you click on the link and go back again and register. Okay. So your first step is to make sure you register now. And as you register, you're also going to be asked for your name. So, and you'll be asked for your email address. Make sure you use your paste email address only. And they'll also ask you for your full name. So make sure you enter your full name, which is your displayed name, I believe. Okay. Verify your account by entering the code Kaggle will email you, and then you're set with your Kaggle thing. Now, step two. Step two is where you're going to click on this link here. And again, if you already have a Kaggle account with your paste email address, so having a paste email address account is important, right? So if you have that set up, then you click on this link in step two. That's going to take you to a page that looks like this. Here's where you'll be asked to sign in. So let me stop my share so I can sign in here with a different account from what I have used. So bear with me a minute while I remember my own credentials here to sign into my account. I'm gonna nervous moments here for me as I'm struggling to remember my own password. Bear with me just one moment. I have some account that I've got in with. Okay, I've used one of my accounts on Kaggle to get in. And let me share my screen with you. So once you log in, you're going to be able to get to the screen that looks like this. Now, here is your competition page. Once you're in here, you'll click on this Join Competition button. Okay. Now, when you click on the Join Competition button, you will have registered for this competition. Okay. So this step is super important then for you to get started. Now, after you've clicked the Join Competition button, you want to come back to this window here so you can enter in your username and display name. These are important. Very important because this is the only way I can be able to link your leaderboard score to who you are. Okay, so again, we'll come back here, plug in, whatever your username, password, display name are, and then you hit submit. Now you're done with the registration process. Now let's go into looking at the competition per se to see how we navigate through the competition. Okay, so registration is done. Now is the part where I'm going to talk to you about how you'd do your first submission. You're into the competition and so on. So let's see what that view would look like. Bear with me here. I need to go into another window here to find the competition and go in. Okay. So here is the competition then. So now that you registered, you should be able to simply type in this, go to this URL and be able to go into the competition. Remember, if you had not registered, you would not be able to go in directly using that URL. Because this is a competition by invitation only, not everybody gets to go in here and compete or participate. So on here, there are going to be a couple of links on top. Now, obviously, the host is only something that I see. You don't see that. You're not going to see that. You won't see things like an edit button either. Described here are things that I've already outlined for you, which is what the competition is about, your goal, metric, so on. Under description of variables is a description of all the variables included in the data sets. Now, let's go on to data. Under data, you'll see 3 data sets. Analysis data.csv, example submission, and scoring data. We only need one of them, which is the analysis data. So I'm going to click on that and see what happens. No preview. Oh, well, that's okay. I'll click on the download button, and that's going to pull in for me the analysis data file, or it should have. Right? For some reason, it didn't. Okay. Try one more time here. I'll disappointed that didn't download for me, even though I am registered for this competition. Maybe I'm not registered. Maybe I'm not registered actually. So again, bear with me one more. I don't know why I thought I was registered. Okay. So I got bumped off this thing. So I'm gonna have to stop my my screen share here again so I can sign in here and then proceed from there. Apologies for that interruption there. Here we are on the website for Kaggle. Now, under analysis data is the data set. You have here kind of like a short preview of the data. It shows you all the songs in the data. It shows you information about, again, the genre, track duration, the indices like danceability, so on and so forth. Okay. You only need analysis data, so download that one. There are about 20,000 songs out here. The file will come in as a zip file. You can, of course, go in, open up some window, and extract all the files. I'm going to share with you actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to share with you this file in just a second. It occurred to me that, pardon me, it's probably best to download all the files. So let's just download all the files, not just because we're going to need this file also. So let's just download all the files right now because this is easier that way. Okay. So I'm changing my mind right now here and downloading all the files, which is the zip file called 22 song la.zip is being downloaded. And I have that in my computer. I'll share that with you in a second. So I got a zip file, and here is what the files look like on my computer. There are 3 files here: analysis data, example submission, and scoring data.csv. Okay. Analysis data is a data set that you're going to analyze. Example submission is an example of what your submission file will look like, and scoring data.csv is what the data you can score. So that is unlabeled data in a sense. More about that in just a minute. Okay, so let me now go into back to Kaggle. So let's go back to Kaggle and see what is to be done. So back into Kaggle under overview, I've given you some information of how you can get started. Here's an example, a sort of a sample code. Right? So if you take these snippets of sample code, you can put these together and have your first submission up and going. So I'll let me copy this over into my R interface, and I will walk you through what's happening here. So here's R. Let's go to R script. And here's pasting this code in. Some more room. All right, so first things first, I'm going to set the working directory, the place where my data file resides. In my computer, I'm going to go and find out where in the world did I save that file to. Well, I saved that file to some folder called C users VLALA downloads. So, that URL here, or file path. That's where I saved all the files, set that working directory, and now I can verify that all the files are here by doing a dir. You see here, files are analysis data.csv, example submission scoring data.csv. Now, if I click on songs equal read.csv, analysis data.csv, it's going to read in the data. Let's just take a look at the data here. So str songs, and we have down here, it tells us the data is a data frame of 19,000 through observations on 19 variables. Our goal is to predict rating using everything else. A simple model you can use to predict rating is a linear regression model. So here is a linear regression model. LM rating tilde tempo plus time signature, which means we're using tempo and time signature to predict rating. Done that. It takes a fraction of a second to run. Now that we have the model ready, we want to be able to apply the predictions to another data set. So what we want to do is we want to first get in our scoring data that we're going to score. Now, scoring data is unlabeled data. In other words, if you run this code, you'll see scoring data has all the variables that were in analysis data -1. So 18 variables here, not 19. And you've got 4,844 observations. This is where we're going to score. We're going to apply our model to this unlabeled data set. So whatever we learned, we're going to apply here, and we'll get a column called rating. We'll generate that using our model. So we read the data in. Let's run this thing. Now let's take a look at what pred contains. Pred contains essentially predictions for, let's do pred 1 to 10. So here are predictions for the first 10 songs ratings based on our model. Right. So you can get our predictions right now. What we want to eventually submit to Kaggle is not just the predictions, but the predictions and the ID. So what we want to do is then create a basically data frame looks like this, which has basically our predictions and also the ID of the data. So go in here to scoring data $ID, and that's going to show us basically, in this case, the first 10 rows of our data. Okay. Another requirement is that the columns are named ID and rating. And so this is what it will look like then. Okay. Now it turns out that code is already up here as data frame this. And running that bit of code will basically put the predictions in a data frame called submission file. The last line of code will write this data. Now, before I write this data, I want to show you something here, just so you're sure about know about the process here. So notice the timestamp when I'm doing this recording for, there isn't actually a timestamp here, but it's important to notice here 7:32 p.m. here, but there is no sample submission file in this list of files. So let's go back to our studio, and we're going to now run this line of code. And what this line of code is going to do is going to create a file called sample submission from the submission file data frame. And row.name is equal to false, but ensure we don't get row names from our this process. Now, that bit of code then has now generated for us another file called sample submission.csv at 7:37 p.m., which is right now. Okay, and that's it. So with that simple bit of code, like 6 lines of code, we've run a model, scored a data set, and we've got sample submissions ready. Now, we have to submit this to Kaggle. Let's go back to Kaggle and see how that part is done. We're in Kaggle, click on Submit Predictions. look for that data set on your computer called sample submission. You will pretty much just drag and drop that here. So I don't want to do that here right now, but you know what you're supposed to be doing. So drag and drop that file onto where it says upload submission file, and that's it. You're set. You upload. And when you're done with that, you'll be able to view your performance on Leaderboard. Of course, right now, there's nobody on here. There's a baseline here called example submission file with a score of 16.56374. But aside from that, there's nothing else here because nobody else has logged in a submission. Okay. Which means you're not late, right? Okay. So I've then showed you how you download data from Kaggle, read data, construct the model, read scoring data, apply model, construct submission, and finally upload your Kaggle predictions. There's the code for that. Okay, here's some important dates. The registration officially opens on June 28th, and on July 1st is a deadline for entering the first submission, and we close on July 4th. It's going to happen pretty quickly, right? Everything's going to happen go really, really fast here. Actually, it's July 4th, or it's July 4th, yeah. So July 4th, we wrap up the competition then. Okay, so that's it for me. Good luck on this competition. Hopefully you find it exciting, as have other students in the past found it really exciting and pedagogical. Okay, thank you so much.